I will say for me though, I do not have kids, and I it had a dream car, and I love the time freedom, but also you could say that I was money motivated for the things that I think money can buy that I get excited about like that.
So tell me about your app. What is that about?
Yeah, it's called DealMachine, and
Okay.
it's been around 7 years. And I started it because I was looking for a rental property, and I was told to look for a rundown house and write down the address, look up who owns it, send a letter that says, "Would you like an offer on your house?" And somebody will respond who ends up wanting speed and convenience over a good price. And so I made an app that does that process. So that's how Deal Machine started.
So what's that like building an app? I mean, is that hard to do? I mean, how much time did it take to build it out? Did you have somebody help you do it? What was that process?
Well, I built the first version in a weekend for me. I wasn't trying to build like a business, but I just needed like a map that I could pin it and would look up the owner from the county and then send mail through another company. So I built that in a weekend myself. And then when somebody else like wanted to use it, I did put it on the App Store. And once it was on the App Store, people started to find it when they search for driving for dollars. That's like the type of marketing that is when you look for a rundown house. And then I realized like it needed to look better, but that wasn't really my skill set. So my best friend, I'd done a lot of projects with, and he's an even better developer than me. So made him 50% partner, and we formed Deal Machine in May of 2017. So it's not ever done. We update every 2 weeks. Have definitely, innovated this year as well. So um, it could be a little tougher if you don't know how to like code, but from my perspective, I had like a base, knowledge because I studied engineering.
Okay, so tell me about that. Like, what were you like as a kid, man? I mean, you were always interested in engineering and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't grow up around any real estate or entrepreneurs, but I was always definitely kind of into building stuff. Like I had an older sister, and I would set this prank so that like if she opened her like sock drawer, it would like play a buzzer sound, and I like constructed that with a battery and a speaker and like wire and tape. And then I also had the chore of like cutting the grass, and instead of sweeping it, I had this RC car, and I had a remote control airplane. So I like built a little trailer for the RC car and used the airplane propeller to like blow the grass off. So my mom saw that and she was like, you can do that. It's called engineering. So I was like, oh man, that's what I want to do. From sixth grade, I knew I wanted to be an engineer. However, was pretty excited by the business opportunity after reading the 4 Hour Work Week and hearing how Tim Ferriss set up a life where he didn't necessarily retire by 40, like I previously wanted to, but he was able to set up a life like right away, where he wasn't tying his income to the time he was spending. So that was very inspirational. I didn't know how to do it, but that was something that was planted in my head in high school and kind of got me interested in business.
Yeah, you seem like you've always been well, you have this engineering background, but you also are highly money motivated. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, it's a pleasure in my position now. Like we've helped people close 10,000 deals in all 50 states, 7 years in. A huge driver for a lot of people is spending more time with their family. And I was just interviewing a guy named Wes. He's like, well, I was working 60 hours a week, but then I had, a kid, and I wanted to find something that I was a little bit more flexible. So I found out the secret is you don't actually want to retire. Nobody wants to stop working. They just want more meaningful work and a little bit more control. So I will say for me though, I do not have kids, and it had a dream car, and I love the time freedom, but also you could say that I was money motivated for the things that I think money can buy that I get excited about like that.
And so it was always for you, you wanted you wanted to have the toy. I mean, do you think you'll ever have kids? I mean, do you want a family and
I
all
don't
that?
think I need kids, but maybe
Okay.
one day. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'd rather just focus on, like, one of the greatest joys of like growing a business is the personal development that it requires you to have in order to grow the business more. So like this year, I mean, all I wanted to do was get better at my podcast itself was like the biggest, personal thing. And social media as well. Like I had made $50 million in revenue in my business over 7 years before and that was all from social media, but I didn't like realize, oh, that's because social media. That's because people that make YouTube videos and help people get financial freedom through real estate investing recommend DealMachine, this app that I created. So super thankful that it was something that people naturally started recommending. But it wasn't until this year that I realized if my business wants to go to the next level, we should do marketing on our own. I should learn the skill of marketing. So I made a challenge to post, 4 times per day, and I'll hit 1,000 posts by the end of the year. I'm at 948 now. So I've gotten better and I still have a lot to learn, but I think that's like one of the greatest like joys of business after, I had become financially free and gotten some time freedom as well, probably by the age of 29.
And so what is that freedom? How would you describe that freedom? And like, how did you get there? I mean, was there a certain number that you had? What was that number for you that said, okay, I got this number, I'm earning this kind of cash flow, I'm free? What was that number for you, and what does that look like?
Yeah. So when I started out, I was working a $50,000 a year job, and I quit that when I was 26. Now, from 21 to 26, I saved 50% of my salary. So I was already living a pretty frugal life. I had 3 roommates. I drove a rusty Honda Accord, and I didn't make the 50% every month because, man, it's just really tight to live on 50 grand. But for the most part, I was successful in doing that. When I had this idea for DealMachine, and I knew it could be a business beyond just getting my own rental property, I was able to use that savings instead of investing it, just burning it while I worked on DealMachine for a couple years before it paid me. So, yeah, so I kind of forgot what the actual question is you just asked me, but.
Well, I just want to get, and I'll tell you why I asked the question is because I actually started, I built a financial services company. I started at 21. I was making $7 an hour when I started. And by the time I was 28, I had saved my first $1 million in cash. So
oh, wow.
That for me was, and I was actually earning just right around $500,000 a year in passive income. And so for me, it was like, that meant freedom to me.
Amazing.
Like
yeah.
I wanted to, because I always thought, right, if everything went away, that $1 million at 10%, that generated 100 grand a year.
That's enough to live on.
That's enough to live on and be okay. So what was the number for you?
Yeah, it was like 14 rental properties. It was like I was making 70,000 a year. I was like, let me find a way to get to those rental properties. So I knew I had to find discounted properties. I couldn't really fathom saving $1 million in cash for some reason, but I had done like my first rental property and used a strategy called the Burr strategy, where you get a good enough deal, you can get it financed and get all your money back out and just go do it again. So I could see a path that way, and that was kind of what I was focused on.
If you like this video and you want to watch another one, click right here. If you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.